Good evening and welcome to the show. I am Dakore, reaching out to you from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. So wherever you're watching us from, this is Public Intel on View Television. We'll be right back after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now on Sars and Brutality, Nigerian youths had over a week ago begun a march through the streets and major roads in the country in protest of brutality against them by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, that is a unit of the Nigerian police force. The nationwide protests were a culmination of weeks of anger and outcry online by the country's young people over claims of kidnapping, killing, raping, harassment, and extortion by a police unit known as the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. The Nigerian youths across the country have voiced out their grievances and have also rejected the newly formed SWAT, that is the Special Weapon and Tactics, announced by the Inspector General of Police on October 13th. The End SARS protest led to the announcement of SWAT, which will serve as a replacement to SARS. However, the Nigerian youth have aired their opinions as they turn the federal government to prevent the introduction of SWAT. Since the same security operatives are going to be redeployed to the new unit. And now, on this topic of discussion, we are joined in the studio by Collins Ajibola, a security analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dakore, for having me.
Now, what is the major anger of the youth?
I think it's just, like you said in your introduction, a combination of weeks of events happening, months, years of the fate the Nigerian youth have suffered in the hand of SARS. There's no gainsaying that we've not seen, heard, and also been perhaps known to the fact that the SARS have actually gone sometimes beyond what their mandates are. But the fact remains that I think the bad elements amongst them, because let's not also perhaps throw away the baby and the bathwater. The bad elements amongst us have been able to perhaps paint the Nigerian police bad, and unfortunately for the leadership of the Nigerian police over the years, not just this current one, they've not been able also to perhaps bring back that confidence of the Nigerian police force to the public. And now the youth are saying no, enough is enough. We must make the government hear our voices. And sincerely, over the last 1 week, I think it's been a very massive one. And it's
now talking about the massiveness of these protests. Is there a timeline to this, and where do we go from here?
I think so far so good. The government have taken some steps, but the youth are still saying no. You must match the words, the steps with action. You must perhaps begin to make to the public your commitment and let it be visible to all. There have been a lot of paperwork in this country, committees set up and also panels set up. At the end of the day, they just end up as a report in the archives and also in the cabinet. But this time they are saying no. If you are promising us, we want to see the actions matching the words. Show us that you are committed to this.
Okay, all right. The governors have stepped in, like the 36 governors and of course the FCT. They've actually stepped in, and there was a communique. What's your thoughts on this, or what can you deduce from the meeting?
Well, I think with the communique that was made available to the public in the meeting of the IG with the governors, I think they also perhaps lend their voice to the fact that you must prosecute everyone of those SARS members that have over the years perhaps gone against the rights of the citizen in any form. Remember the latest one of the young girl that was raped, and again, so you mustn't at this time swept any kind of report over under the carpet. And also those who have also engaged in molesting the protesters since the last 1 week, bring them to book, parade them publicly and prosecute them in the public.
Do you think that is possible?
Well, I think if the government and also the Nigerian police force leadership wants to perhaps bring back that confidence and make the people believe that the popular mantra "police is your friend" come to bear, you must do that. If you can publicly parade the criminal elements week in, week out, and make the public know that you are doing work, then if there are bad elements amongst you, which ordinarily is against your mandate, you should also make them serve as deterrents.
Okay, all right. There's been 5 agenda by the Nigerian police force on regards of this hashtag #EndSARS. But now the youth have actually come up with their own agendas, and I think they have about 7 right now. Now, what are these agendas? How can these be implemented?
Well, it's actually started from 5 points of demand on the parts of the youth, and now it's gotten to 7. I think it's just extending, if you ask me, beyond even the SARS thing. It might just perhaps be leading to the issue of misgovernance in Nigeria. But again, they are hinging it on the fact that you must completely stop police brutality. Sadly, we are seeing videos of police extortion and police brutality in some places. But again, I think the bottom line is you must match your words with action on the part of government and also on the part of the police leadership. You shouldn't just perhaps make press statements and maybe give public voices about it. No, we want to see, and that's what the youths are saying.
Okay, now the greatest strength of this protest is that the youth are actually coming out in one voice. And as organic as it is, do you think these protests have been hijacked?
I wouldn't say it has been hijacked, but again, we mustn't rule out the fact that some criminal elements in this state also might be taking advantage of what is happening to also perpetuate their crime, also lend their voices. Because now, if people are saying a total reform of the police and also end SARS, this is not, like I said, you mustn't also do away with the fact that there have been some SARS members or perhaps personnel who have done creditably well, like the one in Borno State that was given an award by the state government. That's actually a very good example. But now, the process of being hijacked, we must be very careful on the part of the youth now, so that criminal elements don't take advantage of this to say, look, this is what we want. We saw some videos of some cultist clash happening in Lagos, where because there was no kind of perhaps security personnel, the youths went on rampage destroying things. That is not what we want. Not a lawless society. The police must do their work, but do it diligently.
Okay, now as good as this protest is, and there had been some losses of lives both in Abuja and in Lagos, and of course other parts of the state where the protests have been held. Now, are we gradually seeing the advantage turning into disadvantage?
But I wouldn't say it's turning into a disadvantage, because even other protests that have been held before, there have been cases of perhaps death and also casualties. Sometimes it does happen, but we must kick against the fact that police use live ammunition and firearms against protesters. Every Nigerian, as far as it's a peaceful one, you have the right to protest against any form of maladministration or misgovernance you see in your society. It is your right as a citizen once it's peaceful. But whereas you see the police coming out against fire, and I'm very happy, kudos to the current the IGP. He has issued a standing order to every police personnel: don't use any live ammunition on the protesters. See what happened in Cross River State, a very beautiful example. The protesters went out, and you won't see a policeman holding any, not even a baton. Not even a baton to the protester. They stood. Yes, you have the right to protest, but do it in a very civil way. So I think it's actually a coin of two sides, but we must at this point get to a middle ground, look at the advantages and the disadvantages, move on as a country. At the end of it all, I just hope, and I am optimistic, that it will be for a better Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be back to you. And that's colleague Ajibola on SARS and Brutality discussion here in the studios. After this break, we'll be having the headlines coming up. Do stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still on Public Intel. Now let's go through some of the stories that made the headlines during the week on security. During the week, bandits killed 12 in Kaduna communities. And the federal government has to meet, they met during the week to resolve the strike. Activist group Anonymous issues 72 hours peaceful warning ultimatum to the federal government. Governors reject SWAT as NSAS protest spreads. Army warning to subversive elements targeted at miscreants. NDLEA arrests 44 in Anambra State, seizes 2 tons of illicit drugs. During the week, Nigerian Army restates commitment to democratic rule. We demand justice for Nigerian burnt to death in Libya, says Dabiri Erewa. Police raid Cross River baby factory and rescued pregnant women and babies. And during the week, the Federal Capital Territory bans protesters. Anonymous hack Twitter account targets government website. We still have Collins Ajibola, who is a security analyst in the studio. Thank you for having stayed with us. Now, on headline 1, where bandits killed 12 in Kaduna State, and Nasser El-Rufai, after condoling the families and the communities, has also directed the commissioner in charge of liaising with security agencies to provide him with hourly briefing on security situations in the state. My question is, this is very good, but then my question is, how effective can this be? How realistic is this?
I think the issue of banditry attack in Kaduna is one that it's becoming perhaps an embarrassment to the security agents and apparatus in the country, because this is just one too many, and we might be lost in count now to the numbers of lives and properties that have been destroyed in especially in Kaduna State, and by now